Well, that was certainly a game. In game one, Navi forced out a 10-minute GG. I was trying to do 10, and then I got confused with my hands. I should really...
Can you count that high?
Yeah, it's counting is hard. English is hard. But they forced out a 10-minute GG from Rattlesnake. Rattlesnake had one of the worst drafts you will ever see. If you want to laugh, go watch the VOD. But in game two, we'll see if they can have a better draft. I'm LD of Beyond the Summit. I'm joined by Merlini.
Hopefully we'll have a better game. They have banned Wisp, though, so it will be better. Give me my rares back, please.
A man can dream. A man could definitely dream. And with that being said, let's jump in the draft. Let's see what the teams are going to do. Navi, Batrider, Visage bans from them. Pretty standard stuff. And Rattlesnake also banned the Darkseer. I didn't think the Darkseer by himself was the problem. I thought it was the Wisp plus Darkseer combination. But they say we don't want any part of that. And off the bat, they get a hero who scales well with farm. This is already looking a lot better than game one.
Yeah, I think they'd probably need to do a safe lane. But Lifestealer does kind of destroy Alchemist. And again, with Alchemist being so popular, I'm surprised that Lifestealer hasn't resurged in popularity as well. He can almost always rage dodge the Unstable Concoction. Alchemist being a very fluffy hero, which means high HP and low armor, is just absolute food for Lifestealer, and he can just lifesteal a ton with his open wounds, and he's just much better at the early stages of the game before Alchemist gets his items. With both of them have like 1,000 gold or 1,500 gold in items, Lifestealer will almost certainly win the fight.
Yeah, absolutely. At the same time, though, Lifestealer has low base armor. The Alchemist stun still does damage, even if you rage dodge it, and can actually suffer quite a bit just from fighting in Acid Spray. So I still think Alk isn't a horrible matchup versus Lifestealer, but to win the man fight, he does need a lot of farm. That's for sure. Rubik, the choice by Rattlesnake, they secure a strong support here. Not really the best against Lifestealer. If he rages and goes on you, you can't do anything to get away.
You are boned.
Yeah, whereas Shadow Demon is fantastic to at least keep himself alive. So that's, in some ways, a bit of a weak support, but sets up the Alk nicely, gives them some potent late game. Just from these two picks alone, their late game is like 20 times stronger than it was in game number one.
And the recent trend for the ban drafts is no one's really banned any decent solo mids. And I think that will play much better into Navi's favor, just because Dendi, he won his lane pretty handily last game, and as long as they can give him something pretty comfortable in the mid lane, whether it's Puck or Queen of Pain or Storm Spirit, I think that they'll have an easy time, and they can draft around what they need and not be pigeonholed into a sort of strategy that they don't want to run.
Yeah, that was an awkward laning situation for Rattlesnake, to say the least, but the draft looks a bit better now. For Navi, where do they go from here? Puppy's junglers are in the pool. You mentioned Dendy's Puck is an option this game. We don't know what Rattlesnake is running mid. They've run the solo mid Alk before, but they have also run Alk as a farmer. I don't think I've seen them go for a Battle Fury Alk. I don't think I've seen them go for that Mushi, Burning style, max GPM, YOLO mode. It's usually an early Shadow Blade, BKB, combat-worthy Alchemist. So even if it goes mid, it'll probably even be the hero that builds a mech, and mech is actually really nice against Lifestealer just for the armor. The heal's sort of a secondary bonus, but we will see. I know you're not a big fan of solo mid Alk, but the point is Rattlesnake do have their laning options open.
I think it's too passive. I think Navi's going to bring the fight to Rattlesnake, and it's going to be super, super early. Probably before 5 minutes, we'll probably see some kills, but it really depends on the rest of the draft. I think they could definitely get away with a Chen this game. I think Puppy did a good job with his Satyr to harass that triple lane and just put a lot of pressure on Rattlesnake. Again, Rubik is not a very good level 1 hero. He doesn't do that much damage, and Alchemist, if they choose to play greedy with Grievous's Greed, they can punish it very heavily with a Lifestealer in the triple lane. I think Navi will try and contest Alchemist farm and just pick two solos that they don't really have to worry about, whether it's a Darkseer, Puck like last game, anything like that. I think will work well in their favor.
For Navi, I imagine a combo hero for the Lifestealer. A Queen of Pain, a Storm for Dendi. The silence is great versus Rubik. You jump in, you silence him as you're coming in. He can't lift you, he can't do anything to stop your initiation. Also, versus Alchemist, if he doesn't have Chemical Rage, he's incredibly easy to bring down. You get Dust on the Storm, you can punish split push styles. So I think a Storm could be a good choice here. Queen of Pain's an option, but I imagine they'll go for that solo pretty soon. We will see, though.
Rattlesnake has banned 4 of the 5 heroes that we saw last game, so clearly they're just not having any of what happened last game. I think Navi banning out Weaver is a very good ban here. They don't have any stuns or silences right now, and Weaver just goes to town if you don't have any, and it kind of shuts down Lifestealer if played very well.
Hello, I'm a day-old banana. My name is Pete, and I was hoping you could say a prayer for me to ripe into a great yellow banana. Thank you very much.
Where's your prayer?
We wish you all the best, Meep Creep.
Where's your prayer, LD? You didn't fulfill his wishes.
That was the prayer.
You just said a prayer. You didn't actually say your prayer.
There's the prayer.
Nice. I approve of this.
I was thinking it the whole time. Rattlesnake Gaming, they'll pick up a clock.
I felt the presence from the other world.
Presence of the Dark Lord. Are we gonna see a Shadow Fiend here? Probably not.
That would be awesome.
I would like to see a Dendi Shadow Fiend. That's something we haven't seen in a while. But I feel the Storm is a pretty solid choice. He is a bit vulnerable to Shadow Blade ganks from Alchemist, so it could go either way. Maybe.
I don't think he's gonna farm Shadow Blade though. That's the thing. He's not gonna farm it early. At least in my opinion, with their draft going so hard. They have a Nyx Assassin. Nyx Assassin.
Yeah, and that really sets up a Storm last pick. Now with the Prophet, you can run a safe lane Prophet, an aggressive tri-lane Lifestealer, and then a Storm mid if they want, or off-lane Prophet, defensive tri-lane Lifestealer. Might be a bit better to go defensive simply because Nyx really wants level 6, but either way, they'll have their options here.
So Rattlesnake's draft is already much more solid than last game. They have a very solid late game farmer that can transition from an early game fighter. They have Rubik, one of the best supports in the game. They have Clockwork, one of the better off-laners. So again, their draft is a little bit more put together to this game and not just willy-nilly. I don't even know what other adjectives to describe what happened last game.
Willy-nilly is perfect. We'll use that one. Rattlesnake, the fourth one. The fourth pick now coming out for them. They have two of their farmers here, the Alchemist, the Clockwork, and they'll need one more. They're a bit melee heavy already, and Clockwork and Alk are a very awkward combination because Cogs can, in fact, often will just work against Alchemist.
It's awkward indeed. So I saw awkward. Some people use like Clockwork and Earthshaker, and that just makes things even more hectic for your melee carries. I think that it is a good idea not to have that much melee. And again, Cog plus Fidger is just really strange, and you really want a lot of range. But again, they need to be more in tune, more goal oriented in their draft.
Jakiro, good AoE, vulnerable to the Nyx ganks. Also another support that does poorly against Lifestealer. These heroes could be food.
They have a lot of combos though. If they manage to get a lift up onto the Lifestealer, they can dump them into an Ice Bath, and then meanwhile they can be channeling Unstable Concoction and actually kill the Lifestealer. But again, it is going to be a relatively easy time for a Lifestealer if he has a good start. If we see like a 8 to 10 minute phase drums, it is going to be a nightmare for Rattlesnake support heroes as well as the Alchemist.
What will that Navi last pick be? What's that Dendi hero gonna be? We'll find out now. I still think Storm is a pretty solid choice here. The only thing he would be vulnerable to is the Shadow Blade on Alk, and like you pointed out, whether it's a off-lane Prophet just using Trance to stop the creep stacking, denying the pulls, or whether it's an aggressive tri-lane. Either way, Alk will not have uncontested farm this game. At least I imagine he won't.
I feel like this ban doesn't really mean anything. If they want to ban Storm, they can use Queen of Pain. If they ban Queen of Pain, they can use Puck, and they just really need any sort of mid hero. So Dendi will have his choice of mid heroes. Purdue actually solo the last hero mid. Yeah, looking at their lineup, they have some good potential for Lifestealer bombs too. Nature's Prophet with his global teleport, Nyx Assassin with the Vendetta, that plus Lifestealer can almost instant kill a hero, and most likely the last hero will be a Nyx bomb potential hero too.
And at long last, they'll settle on another ban of a jungler. The Enchantress gets removed. That puts Puppy probably on the Shadow Demon or the Nyx Assassin, and we will just have to wait and see what Navi go for. As for Rattlesnake though, lots of nuke damage, a decent team fight combination if they can get it off. I just don't know what they're going to pick to deal with the Lifestealer. Maybe you go for...
I feel like they like damage in their lineup right now. They have like Rubik doesn't do too much damage, Clockwork doesn't do too much damage, Jakiro, but only if you have like a really nice setup can he do a lot, and Alchemist is really farm dependent. So I really feel like they lack the burst that Navi has. Nyx Assassin with a Soul Catcher, he can instantly kill a hero. Lifestealer does tons of damage if you don't have a Razor counter that we saw earlier on Zenith. And again, Storm Spirit, we've been talking about him the whole time they're in the draft. No surprise there.
Yeah, pretty straightforward for Navi. Incredible global reach, great burst damage, fantastic pick-off potential, and it's where Rattlesnake would love to have that Shadow Demon on their side, but they don't. Do you go even for something like an Obsidian Destroyer here, a hero who can at least
I don't like him in this lineup just because he gets kind of destroyed by Nyx Assassin.
Yeah,
you get a lot of
I agree, but I do really feel they need some sort of here that has a defensive mechanism, because right now they're just totally lacking.
At the same time, if they draft too passive of a lineup, which is kind of how it's going to be with Clockwork. Clockwork doesn't like actually win his lane; he just doesn't lose his lane that badly. And I feel like if they go too defensive right now, Navi's just going to tower dive and end in a 15.
Well, they've gone very
GG.
defensive.
Whoa, Lich!
Ultra defensive pick, good against the Lifestealer with the Frost Armor, but
I mean that's
pretty much it.
Yeah.
Aside from that, you just slow down Navi's farm a bit. Where are they gonna put this? Is it like a Clockwork Lich dual lane?
I think if they can put Lich versus triple lane, they can minimize the casualties in that lane and then get some fast levels. Get fast Shadow Blade on the Alchemist, get fast level 6 on Rubik, get a fast hook shot on the Clockwork. All these will be very instrumental in them winning with this rather passive lineup that we see thus far.
Well, we'll introduce the teams now. On the Dire side, it's going to be Navi playing playing on the Dire side. Navi 1-0. Up in this best of 3. Havost handling the Lifestealer. Dendimon on the Storm Spirit. Pulled some regen early. Puppy going to be taking over the reins of the Nyx Assassin. Kuroki on the Shadow Demon. And last but not least, we do have Funnick playing your Nature's Prophet. On the Radiant side, it's Rattlesnake. They struggled in game 1. It was a 10-minute GG. But Lamb's all smiles now. Feeling happy in game number 2. Icy on the Lich. We'll have Lamb on the solo mid clock. We'll have Kabu playing the Rubik. It took me a minute to hear that. Nicely done. That was good, buddy. Neo going to be playing the Jakiro, and last but not least, Leo on the Alchemist on the safe lane.
So it looks like Navi's already off to a very aggressive start. This is exactly the same thing that they did last game. Go to the jungle, secure your pool, drop an early ward that we see already, and they want to get off to a really good early game start like they did last game. And I feel like if they do that, they can snowball easily to victory. And Rattlesnake is going to try and shut down the potential of this triple lane by having this Lich. He had boots first, he got pulled 2 sets of regen, and he will be able to at least mitigate some of the farm from Havost.
The reason we don't really see offlane Lich anymore is that denying creeps doesn't matter that much when the enemy team is just constantly pulling. And the wave's never really going to come back your way. You can still get plenty of additional experience from the jungle. And it's okay to do it if they get some wards down, but Rattlesnake went defensive into their jungle. So I don't know that this offlane Lich does much.
He's having a sick, nasty block right now. But I agree with you there. And one bad thing about Lich is he's just going to get towered over and absolutely destroy it. As soon as Nyx gets his phase boost, Lifestealer can't pop his head out at all.
The Treant will try to park itself at the Magic Bush, but Kabu with the double damager and clears it off. Another one there. They've both been sniped, but there was a hero body block, so the first creep camp spawn will be denied. It's basically that asshole prophet style where you deny the enemy supports their pulls and their farm at your own expense, and you look to catch up later on. So now, offlane Lich, he'll deny some creeps, but the constant pulls are going to mostly negate that, although this first lane does push in. And then mid lane, Lamb, Clockwork versus Storm. Actually a fairly tough matchup for the Storm early on, especially if he gets pulled into cogs like that, but Lamb's taking a huge nuke to the face. You really just want to mono burn Denny. I don't think you want to pull him in with you this early on.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. And he actually does not have a flash. That's going to hurt him a lot. If he just uses rocket too. He's only sitting at 536 gold. He needs 2 creep kills or 1 creep kill plus like 30 seconds worth of time. And Dendi is already going to be flashed up, so I fully expect Dendi to come out way ahead in CS in the next few minutes.
These Treants, this is so obnoxious. Constantly a never-ending parade of the Treants into the enemy jungle. These supports blowing all their spells just to kill them off. And Prophet still has enough mana to use at least 2 or 3 more before going back to Fountain. This is really frustrating Rattlesnake. The Treants will be killed off. Overall, Dendi is 9 and 8 mid, and for Navi, he's been the key to their success lately. It hasn't been quite that Navi of 2012, where the whole team would make big plays. For the most part, to me, it seemed like Dendi has been carrying the heavy load when they win. He snowballs, and off to a very snowbally start here.
Yeah, and Navi is doing a fantastic job of pulling and stacking on the top lane. We see a double stack from the Wildkins here, a double stack recently taken out. Lich is not even level 2 yet. He's not even level 1.5.
Yeah, and again, this is just what happens with an offlane Lich against the tri-lane. If you don't block the camps with wards, it doesn't matter how many creeps you deny. He really doesn't slow down the enemy farmer that much. Havost, yeah, he's 10 and 3. Alchemist is 15 and 7, so it's helping to spam these denies, but they're still getting levels on the supports. And I think Navi overall getting early level 6 is going to be the key. Oh no, mid lane, we've had a rotation from Kabu. And we're off to a slow start here with the camera work, but we'll speed it up, don't worry. First blood on Dendi, that's an important one because he was dominating this lane. 10 and 9, nice rotation from our Ruben.
I like how the supports, they know they're not getting anything. Funnick has been doing a fantastic job of blocking them. They were both level 1 just a couple minutes ago, and I like how he actually went mid just because Dendi is known to play very, very aggressively, and scoring that early kill is so instrumental for them.
Now the Clockwork Cog's going to push Dendi back. He's just teleported in. Denying that level 6 is key. He's only level 3 right now. He'll hit 4. Could have been closer to level 5 if he hadn't missed a little bit of experience with that death, as well as giving some way to the Clockwork, who will most likely hit level 6 first on the back of that and could potentially find a kill with a hook shot. We'll see if the timing's right. Brubik back to the bottom lane for the time being, and Rattlesnake just endlessly frustrated by these treants. You compare this to what the Lich is doing, and I see us slowing down Havost's farm, but this Prophet is slowing down 2 supports as well as forcing, well, I mean, he's not stopping Lua from farming, but he's forcing them to spam a lot of spells and mana in doing so. You got to say that offlane trades are way better for Navi right now.
Indeed they are. And looking at bottom lane, checking Lua CS and skill builds, he actually has 2 points in Grievel's Greed, so decently greedy build by him. Havost actually does not have a point up in Rage, which is slightly confusing to me, but regardless, he has 2 points in Feast, 2 points in Open Wounds, and is level 4. Tread's already complete on that.
Clash at the top rune. In comes Kuroki as well as Puppey. There's been a disruption, but Lamb, he'll pop an Invis rune. There is a sentry on the ground. He's got to get out of here. Pops the cogs, pushes them all away, but cannot get out in time. He will go down. Nice pick off for Navi. They came prepared with the early sentries. And the reason they had them is because they didn't have to deward the pull. So that's just another unfortunate consequence of not getting any wards in the enemy camps early on.
Yeah, but they really couldn't contest it early. Lich, again, very useless at the very early levels compared to a Furion, who has been doing great blocking with the Force of Nature treants. But yeah, this is why you want to always pick up a set of Sentry Wards. You never know when you're going to need it for a random invisibility rune that may spawn, and it's totally just yielded them a kill.
You know, the secondary effect of the Prophet slowing down these supports for Rattlesnake is that most likely Puppey's going to hit level 6 around the time that they do, or even before. Kabu's only level 2 right now. He's made a massive stack of neutrals. Maybe Out can come clear these fairly soon, but if he doesn't, and these supports are, again, very vulnerable to Nyx ganks as well as Storm ganks, so I think the fact that they slow down these supports levels is not just about the general concept. It's specifically good when you have the lineup Navi does at setting up your mid-game kills. Could be very potent as we head towards that mid-game. Now 5.5 minutes in, we'll take a look at the gold graph. 750 gold lead for Rattlesnake, 500 experience lead for them as well. But I feel, considering how snowbally Navi's lineup is, none of their core heroes are really being shut down. Dendi farming pretty well, Havost farming pretty well, and they have the kind of lineup that can stop Luo from farming, and they'll need to do that because he is getting a lot of farm in this bottom lane.
Yep, he is actually going for a Battle Fury first. I just saw him pick up a Ring of Health in the side shop. Meanwhile, Havost is going for an early Midas, so he's very close to it right now. 480 gold, as well as the recipe flying out to him just now.
Yeah, it'll help make up for the fact that he's losing experience to this Lich quite a bit, and we'll catch him up as we head towards the mid-game. Obviously, Midas a good pickup anyway, just because you benefit a lot from the attack speed. Dendi, he's rotated bottom, might look to make a go. Luo with the early treads is not an easy target to bring down, but Sagam could be vulnerable. Neo's going to back off. Sagam, a.k.a. Neo, I should say. And Lamb pops an Observer Ward down middle lane. Level 6, has not made a rotation of his own yet. Kuroki, not really the ideal hero to go on here, unless you get him completely isolated. Then he can't really cast Disruption with Battery Assault coming out, but won't be able to do it. He'll send a rocket out. He'll head towards top. And it looks like for the time being, Rattlesnake very content to just sit back and farm. A lot of eggs in the Alchemist basket. And for me, that is a concern just because Navi have so much burst. They will really need they want observers in the lane, sentries there to spot smoke ganks. The warding game for these Rattlesnake supports is probably what will make or break this farming-oriented strategy.
And in this level 6 war, the supports, I think that Navi definitely comes out ahead. Vendetta and Demonic Purge are so much more useful than Jakiro, who usually doesn't even skill Macro Pyre at level 6, although Spell Steal is pretty useful on the Rubik. And again, they're going to hit level 6 almost definitely behind these 2 supports from Navi.
Yeah, the Twin-Headed Dragon has actually caught up because he is good at clearing creep camps, but even if he hits it a little bit ahead, I think he's still very vulnerable to those ganks. Lamb mid lane is in trouble. Zip in from Dendi. He needs one more nuke, but timely stick charges keep him alive. Now Kabu Surges forward, looking for a lift. Will not find it. Little Rubik still needs to bench a bit more. And Rattlesnake, they'll group up and they'll pressure bottom.
So Havos going maximum farming mode on top, just infesting a Hellbear Smasher just for that little extra bit of gold. He's still 7 CS behind the Alchemist right now. And checking the net worth, we see Luo pull ahead by about 900 gold already, and this is before the T1 on bottom.
The good news is they do have incredible gank potential, and I just go back to what I said previously.
Is Navi going to get a deny on bottom?
Oh, tower could be denied. Dendy jumps in, looks for the deny. He will find it. Well played, and just really no way to stop that if you're Luo. Couldn't have anticipated, but Dendy with the great reaction there. And now Luo going to stun himself, and actually running towards Dendy while doing so, but does have Chemical Rage up. Should be okay. Up to 1,400 gold. Something.
He is so difficult to kill right now.
And he's got his Claymore. I really like this early treads. I was casting a game yesterday. I think it was awcup versus Rock's Kiss, or maybe Rock's Kiss versus Virtus Pro. The Alchemist tried to go for a naked Battle Fury against the Nyx Assassin. There wasn't even a Storm in the game, and just the Nyx alone was able to solo kill him when he's not in Chemical Rage. You get these treads, and it really shores you up and helps ensure that you don't die either before or immediately after getting the Battle Fury. I think it's a very smart pickup, and just going naked Battle Fury is really too greedy.
Look at this stack. This is going to be huge for the Alchemist. That is one mass stack. 1, 2, I believe 3, 4 maybe?
Top lane, the Lich has gone down. Puppy's rotated in and picks him off. And that's going to get him his level 6. Doesn't have the mana right now to go on a gank, but Dendy joins the fray as well. And they're going to dive this top lane. This Clockwork TP seems ill-advised. It will be canceled, but now Navi can put some pressure on this top lane. There is a bit of a trade for Rattlesnake. That huge stack that you mentioned is being farmed right now. I wouldn't call it a horrible trade, aside from the death, but now Funnick teleports in. Navi's going to go really greedy. This looks to me like Funnick is rushing a Midas. Up to 1,400 gold, only the reign of Dacilius on him, and Rattlesnake just cannot defend. If they had something like a Keeper of the Light, perhaps, but Jakiro Rubik are going to be food if they even walk near this tower.
Oh, and looks like no one will get the last hit except for the Dire on that tower. Did not get denied, but that creep stack is just huge amounts of gold for Alchemist. He actually lucked out really well with that. There were actually 3 trolls right there, so...
Every skeleton.
Yeah, every skeleton is just even more and more Grievel's Greed. You want a lot of small creeps for max amounts of Grievel's Greed. You don't want a big Hellbear Smasher camp. You want satyrs, you want trolls. You want those just to maximize your GPM. Speaking of GPM and net worth, Lifestealer around 5,800, or actually 1,000 behind the Alchemist at this point.
Your first Infest Bomb of the game. Dendy, infested by Havost. Only sitting on Phase Boots Midas, no drums for him. He's a little bit squishy, but they'll rotate and they'll look for some kills. Dendy, not particularly farmed this game, only 2,600 net worth. He has spent a lot of time rotating around the map. He got the Tier 1 bottom, but he is an important hero to get some farm on, else he could be vulnerable to a Rubik Lift. A follow-up stun from Al. He'll walk in mid. He thinks about a zip. He was winding up for it, but backs off, worried about a counter gank. And he will, in the end, retreat. Meanwhile, bottom rune, Kambu, finding his way towards one. Dendy zipped a long way to grab him. The lift does catch Dendy, but there's no way for this Rubik to deal with Havost. Didn't even need to pop the rage. On the backside comes Shadow Demon, disrupts Lamb. Pulled back in at max range of the pull. Now he hooks to the right, or rather to the left, and tries to run away. There's your cogs, but able to escape in the end. And while that's happening, Puppy, level 6, Arcane Boots up. He'll rotate in, could be looking for a Vendetta Strike here. And this is that point in the game where, as I mentioned 5 or 8 minutes ago, Rattlesnake, their warding game is going to decide whether they win or lose. They need sentries, they need observers, and they need great positioning here. Icy might be about to get caught.
Funnick, we have not seen much of, but he has just picked up his Midas.
Lamb is going to be picked off. Beautiful movement by Puppy. Very patient. And now Navi finding those kills. 4-1. Even if their lineup's getting out farmed by Grievel's Greed, this Alchemist, he'll need more items after this Battle Fury before he can actually stand against a 3-4 hero gang.
He also needs more support from his teammates. The XP graph is about 3,000 in favor of Navi right now. That's quite a big difference. Gold is not so much, and
They're
that's
going
only
in.
650.
They're going to try and dive him. He has purchased his Battle Fury, but it's time he spends on the sidelines, not farming. He has the Chemical Rage. Can he get it off? He pops the stick, charges the ball. Now the Chain Frost comes through. Bounces just a few times. Luo throws out a retaliatory stun, but still goes down. Now a disruption. Lamb looking for a hook. He'll nail it. Drops Kuroki. Low hasn't killed him yet. The Ice Tap to fly. Gonna connect. They've killed off the Nyx. Now they want Kuroki too. Navi with a very cocky overextension, diving a tier 2 at 12.5 minutes in. Will throw quite a few lives away.
I'm surprised that Funnick didn't even use his Wrath of Nature there. He had his ultimate ready. I think that they could have done it with a little bit more of a quick burst. Had they killed the Alchemist faster, I don't think they would have overcommitted, overstayed their welcome, get hit by that Chain Frost, and instead Rattlesnake pulls ahead with a nice 2-to-1 victory in that team fight there. Also, very good reaction by them, and I don't actually think they came out very poorly in that at all, just because Alchemist has spent his gold before. He does have his Battle Fury up, but at the same time, Havost has his armlet.
It's time he didn't spend farming, but Rattlesnake, pretty efficient play from the... Oh, we're going to see a go top lane, actually. That Lich, maybe in trouble. Puppey diving him, impales. The Mana Burn's there. They'll need a Prophet ult to bounce through. I imagine it's coming now. It hits Icy and clips off the kill. Speaking of that Prophet, Funnick went for Midas. A greedy set of items from Navi, but because they have the Storm, Dendi is able to set up some kills and let them, as well as Puppey, these two really creating space for the Prophet and the Lifestealer to make those Midases work. And that's why you look at the gold graph, and Navi are actually leading in gold and experience against a pretty fast Battle Fury Alchemist. The tier 1 down bottom, the tier 1 down top, and now top lane, Puppey's been caught, Lamb's hooked in to get him. Now the Battery Assault coming forth, and Puppey should fall. Jukes every direction, but can't run from Battery Assault. Not when the Clockwork's latched onto you like a blood-sucking parasite. And Luo, Battle Fury up, but cannot farm. Observe a ward here, spotting any support movement towards the Ancients. They're not even being stacked now. The Battle Fury is just a gateway to the next item. It's not really an end unto itself.
Yeah, and they do not have control over the jungle, and that is a very, very big deal, especially when the Ancient stack is only stacked once, and Navi has control of most of the map right now. He can only pretty much farm the leftmost, the left 2 neutral camps right now, and that is not where you want to be as an Alchemist. You need to be able to farm your whole entire jungle as well as the bottom lane, but they feel very threatened right now, and this is just because of the constant use of these Lifestealer bombs, and Havost, after picking up that early Midas, has done a lot of work in this early game.
Yeah, he's managed to farm an armlet despite being tucked inside of Dendi for a large portion of this game. I mentioned for Rattlesnake I'd like to see wards a little bit more. Storm's hard to deal with wards just because he can jump you from so far. Oh, Lamb might be caught here. He hooks forward. He finds Kuroki. Dendi could go on him, but they're going to be trapped. 3 heroes in the gods. Macropyre comes out. This could be trouble. Chain Frost as well. Havost is running for his dear life. One more Chain Frost bounce is going to slow him down. It could set up another Ice Path. This could be 3 dead. It very well might be. It forces out a Dendi buyback, a secondary rage, and now the turnaround comes. But Luo can throw out the stun. No, he stuns himself. Now Dendi zips forward, thrown up in the air, and it looks like Dendi's going to go down after a buyback.
Wow.
My goodness, that was a disastrous fight for Navi.
Where were the supports from Navi? Funnick didn't TP in. I didn't see Puppey there at all either. I don't understand why they're going into an opponent's jungle. Sure, they had control, but not when they're 3 strong.
That was also a rather fortuitous hook. Normally that Clockwork hook could have been bad, but he had a lot of backup. And for Navi, it looked like Dendi was hesitating if he should jump into the cogs. He waited a second to do it. Then he jumped in.
That just lined up for Ice Path for a nice
that
Chain
was
Frost
so
combo.
bad. Yeah, that we saw. I was casting yesterday. I cast a few Lich games over in the Corsair Summer Tour, and every single Chain Frost was just getting 1 bounce, and that was it. But the luck is on the player's side in the Alienware Cup, at least today for Rattlesnake.
Great ward over here by Rattlesnake too, scouting out the Shadow Demon. They were all there prepared to follow up after the hook shot, and that's so important. Had Lon M been there out alone, he would just almost certainly died after the Storm Spirit balled into the cogs.
Rattlesnake, they'll rotate back through their own jungle again. They are, at the end of the day, still lacking map control against a global ganking lineup. I still feel they're in a bit of a sticky situation, but if they can get a Shadowblade up on Luo, maybe a BKB, he's going Shadowblade. I think that is the better choice here. But either way, get a next item on him, and maybe he can start to find some fights and create some space for his team. If he gets a Shadowblade, I mentioned the Storm is very vulnerable to Alchemist ganks. If you get off a full duration stun on him and there's any follow-up, he's definitely dead. And even solo, it's quite likely he could bring him down. So look to this Alchemist to be the comeback mechanic for this team. And Luo's going to try and farm a huge stack of Ancients.
They're looking to pick out Puppey, but will find nobody there. Looking at the XP grab, it's still going in favor of Navi. Even after that 3-man wipe and the buyback and another death by Dendi, they're still not that far behind in terms of either the grass. Gold earned about 3,000 still in favor of Navi.
That's a lot of Ancients. Luo now has his Shadowblade. And this is the Alchemist problem. Even if you slow him down, you have to keep him down completely and utterly the entire game, else he does start to accelerate his farm. And he went Battle Fury first, didn't stop off for a Shadow Blade, didn't get it at 60 minutes. Now he clears off a huge stack of Ancients, Shadow Blade online, and has a bit of gold for a rainy day. Puppey, as you mentioned, lurking bottom, hard to find kills on him. But Rattlesnake, well, the one issue is it's a game where your supports do need to be tanky, Merlini, because they're so vulnerable to Navi's burst damage. Right now, they do feel a bit squishy.
I really like the build from Clockwork. He just went pure HP. He has a bottle, he has a magic wand, he has a Vit booster. Havo's in trouble here.
Oh, long-range stun. Catches Kuroki mid-disruption cast. Now a nice path clips him. Thrown up into the Macro Pyre. Drop back down into the Hellfire. They'll find a kill, and Rattlesnake will back off mid. The first Shadow Blade gank called a success, and they're going to get a D-ward for the trade. Both teams antagonistically denying each other sentries, but no sentries on the ground. I think Rattlesnake now, with the Shadow Blade, can continue to make pickoffs happen, and it might be Navi who starts to cede a bit of map control off of this.
They do have two invisibility heroes, though. I think they could have a Nyx Assassin with a Lifestealer inside of him, as well as the recent Shadow Blade pickup by the Nature's Prophet. I think we'll start seeing a lot more of Funnick in the next few minutes. And again, they need to constantly buy sentries. Look at Rattlesnake sentries. They have one here, they had one in mid, they had another one here. They really are desperate to not get picked off by Puppey.
Yeah, smart sentry warding. As I mentioned, it's a necessary evil. Sure, it neuters your support's ability to buy extra items, but if you're dying, you're not only not farming those items, you're giving up precious gold to Navi. And if a Blink Dagger ever comes onto Puppey, this Nyx Assassin can blink in, insta-gib a Rubik, he can insta-gib a Jakiro, and there's just not much they can do about it. You can try and lift him if you're really quick, but that's very hard to execute unless you're watching right over your hero as he jumps in. Luo, now up to 2k gold. If he manages to farm a BKB, I imagine that's the item you want to go for here. There's quite a few heroes on Navi who can't do anything against him. Yeah,
I think it's the right item for him to go right now. But going back to Clockwork's build, he went pure HP. Treads, Bracer, Vit Booster, 1700 HP at this point, and that's a very good item build for him, because he does need to survive the burst from the Storm Spirit, from the Nyx Assassin, from the Shadow Demon. If he can survive that, and his team can kind of follow him in after that, after he gets off his spells, they can win team fights.
Navi are still clustered up mid, and if you're not farming that effectively, then I guess the Prophet and Havos are getting some farm. It's actually both teams grouped up here, but in comes Puppey. They found Lamb. He does deploy the cogs. Now a nice path clips Dendi. And in comes a Zip. He jumps forward. He pulls Kabu. He blows up, and now the chase is on. Chain Frost bouncing. Will they continue to give chase? No, they turn around for Havos, who's diving the tower, but he's got a good tower diving hero in the Lifestealer. Infest the creeps, and the Magician will try and run away. Puppey, Carapace, is it online? It's not. He eats a stun. Now, Funnick teleporting bottom says, I'm going to split push and drive them back, boys. And it looks like he will. Navi, trading away a Storm for a Jakiro, not the best trade, but they do have double Midas, and Alchemist wasn't farming during that time, so it's not all bad in their lands.
Dendi has been dying constantly, though. Looking at his items, he is very underfarmed as a solo mid 21 minutes into the game. Looking only at Treads, a Null Talisman, and some minor items with 1,400 gold, he might be quite a liability in the rest of the game.
And especially now that there's that Shadow Blade on Alk, he has to be careful about split pushing. He really does. Maybe it's up to it's obviously up to Puppey, these supports, to place some sentry wards, but you can't sentry ward the whole map. That's the beauty of getting a Shadow Blade. There is a Basher up on Lifestealer. In a direct 1v1, Havost will currently beat the Alchemist, but if Luo can farm his next item or two, if he gets big enough, eventually Alchemist just hits so quickly with his low base attack time, even a Lifestealer struggles to take him 1v1.
And going back to the last fight, it was very awkward how that fight went about. Puppey initiated on the Clockwork, and he was in melee range, but then the Sprout came by Funnick, and then the Cog came by Clockwork, and he actually got pushed out of the Cog and was unable to land his stun as early as he would have thought, and that was just very strange interaction there.
That Shadow Blade. Oof. That friggin' Shadow Blade
he does
doing
so much
work.
Damage right now.
Yeah, you can't split push against this. If you do, Nyx Assassin can kill supports. Alchemist can kill anyone if they get caught, aside from maybe the Lifestealer. But all the other heroes very
Sentry Ward
susceptible to those ganks.
Going on in middle, though.
And here comes Havost. He marches forward. He is really scooting forward, looking for kills in the mid lane. He'll back off and continue farming. Alchemist is getting an Assault Cuirass, and I thought BKB would be the choice, but I don't think Navi have enough Magic Burst to kill him, and if he gets this item, Lifestealer is going to struggle to finish him off. So it's not a bad choice there either.
I think that Rattlesnake is doing a fantastic job of defending middle, though. They really need to try and stop the constant aggression from Navi, and this is a fantastic place to defend. They only need to use a couple of sentries, and Navi can't really break this right now. They don't really have the correct team fight lineup.
Oh, they found Havos. They've caught him, but the cogs are dropped by Lamb. Unfortunately, a bit of miscommunication. He got thrown out of the cogs, and that's going to be a problem now as Lamb gets caught. He's by himself. On the backside comes Luo. He'll find Kuroki, slaps him down. Unfortunately, Puppy's on the run too. Ice Path, Dual Breath. Actually, the Ice Path's still cooling down. He'll throw it now, but Havost has latched onto him. He sucks his blood. Luo on the run. Luo, Shadow Blade coming online. He's got this Assault Caress. He's on the low ground. Sentry on the high ground by Puppy. They've isolated him, and not in Chemical Rage, unable to live. The chase continues. Rubik gets picked off on the backside. Funnick finding yet another. 4 bodies hit the floor.
Wow, I thought it was a great pace to defend, but Navi actually circling around the back where they don't have sentries. That was very good play by them.
That miscontrol or that miscommunication where Rubik threw the Lifesteal out of the cogs, I feel they could have had a decent fight with that because those cogs last forever. Havos wouldn't have done anything during his first rage. Instead, he just went to town on those supports.
Right, and he is super sick at this point. 4-0-4 with that early Midas. He has so many items. Although he's still a little bit behind the Alchemist, that one death really put him far back. I'm actually a little bit confused as to why he jumped into that tree line. I mean, I guess he thought that they might have sentries other places, but you don't really want to be locked in there 1v1 versus a Lifestealer with nowhere to run.
He was waiting for a Shadow Blade to cool down. I guess he thought, I'll fog them and then I'll Shadow Blade and run back out, but it just got trapped, and Navi were prepared. In comes a hook. They want to contest this. Roche is low. Havos looks to finish it. Lamb tries to snipe it. He doesn't get the Aegis. It goes to Havos. Now Lamb on the run. Havos marching forward. He's tanky and he's got 2 lives to boot. They're all being driven back. On the backside, it's Funnick. Shadow Blade. He uses it to get away. Havos raging through an Ice Path, but the Ice Armor is really mitigating his damage. He will be forced to retreat in the end. They lose their Nyx Assassin as well as Kuroki, but they do get an Aegis on the carry. Not too bad of a trade for Navi in the end.
That was an amazing chain frost by the list there. They were the supports were kind of clumped around this area. They had to retreat up this hill, and I think 2 of the supports died, and almost a 3rd hero just from 1 chain frost.
Yeah, and also Navi did buy back on 2. Just notice that. Funnick bought back shortly, or after that, during that engagement, I believe, and the Shadow Demon as well. Shadow Demon buyback doesn't really matter all that much. You can get items on him, it's nice, but the Prophet buyback hurts them quite a bit, I feel. Especially because this Alk hasn't gone BKB yet. If you can get a Scythe before he does, you could pick him off, but for the time being, they'll let Luo go back to farming. And we head towards the late game at this point. 25 minutes in, it's been a bloodbath. 14-13, 25 minutes, but it feels like more to me, Merlini. This is a very chaotic and action-packed game.
Wow, Abyssal Blade up on Havos right now. Alchemist definitely needs at least 1 more item, whether it be a BKB or an Abyssal himself, to try and man mode this Lifestealer.
I think he needs the BKB to deal with all the other nukes, all the other stuns, and then he needs the next item to deal with Havos. A Basher of his own, an Abyssal of his own, perhaps.
Yeah, surprisingly, he's falling behind. Even though he is top on net worth, 15,300, against a Lifestealer, you really need to be way ahead of him in farm in order to man-fight him.
And normally you should be, but Havos went for an early Midas. He's been very successful in these engagements. 4-0-4. As much as Dendy's died, the Lifestealer hasn't. And that's the nice thing about the combo, is even if Storm dies, he's still ultimately at least useful as a vehicle, just to drop off his payload, the Lifestealer, in the middle of the engagement. Pull 1 hero, then drop and feed Havos some kills, and effectively, that's what Dendy's been managing to do this game. Speaking of which, going BKB, normally you only go this if you're struggling, but when he gets a BKB, Rattlesnake don't have any way to lock him down outside of Clockwork Hook, so it will help keep him alive in these clashes.
So it looks like there will be a tower trade going on. T1 top for the T2 on bottom. And looking at Clockwork, again, he's gone pure defensive items. He's holding a lot of casual items. Casual Vit Booster, casual Plate Mail, going all out survivability so he doesn't die to the extreme bursty lineup from Navi.
Navi take a tier 2 bottom, and the trade for Rattlesnake is just taking a tier 1 top. Luo does get the kill. Ogre Club up, now 1,900 gold. He is getting close to a BKB, but like you said, Merlini, he needs more than just that 1 item. He's going to need 2.
I think they also need 4 staffs on Rattlesnake, too, just because they have a lot of...
Oh, they found Lamb, the Impale to start. Now Dendy zips in, and on the backside is Funnick. He's trying to backstab this Lich. He'll sprout him up. Lamb hooks away, and now, well, can he get out of here? Havost has been sprouted. He's been prevented from doing anything in this fight. It was stolen by Kabu. Now the stun comes onto Dendy. In comes Luo, but a great defensive disruption will end any future ambitions of aggression Luo in trouble. He's been abyssaled. He's been bashed. I think he might go down here. He will. 2 fall. Actually, call it 3. The Jakiro bought back. And Navi will retreat out. Just too easy for them to initiate. Rattlesnake, too many vulnerable heroes who have no defensive mechanisms. It's hard not to get caught, and once they get caught, there's just no way to deal with it.
Havos is just too big at this point. They can't stop him. Alchemist is forced to turn tail and run.
Zip forward by Dendi. The Infest Bomb's there. They bring down Kabu. They want Icy as well. Dendi chasing towards the south side. They've disrupted, and now Soul Catchered Sagam. He just bought back. He'll die again. Navi now leading by about 10k experience, but the big one, 7,500 gold. It's a team wipe for Navi. Call it a double team wipe, as they got the 6th kill there as well with the buyback, and they'll look to break the racks. I think for Rattlesnake, this feels like a clean 2-0 sweep. Navi probably taking game 2 at this point.
Yeah, Dendi has his BKB. They have the Blink Dagger up on Nyx Assassin. Everything is falling in place for them. There's no way they can contest this Rex. There are still 3 heroes down right now. 15 seconds until all of them respawn, although they do have every single ultimate online except for the Macro Buyer.
Rax is going to fall. Navi, now that they have 1 Rex, they have the global ganking lineup. Rattlesnake already pressured to leave their base. Will have an even harder time doing it. Navi will retreat back out, and Rattlesnake will be watching what remains of their city.
I feel like they could turn around and fight if they wanted to. They still have the Aegis on Havos, and this is probably the last engagement that they can take before it expires. About 1 minute until the Aegis expires.
Well, they'll choose not to go for it. They're going to continue farming, which isn't a bad option for them. There's still room to grow for Havos, up to 4,600 gold. Your Prophet, Funnick, will want to sight the Vice. He's got the Mystic Staff, just needs to farm the Void Stone. Closer and closer he goes. If they get those next items, the next push, and they wait for Roche 2, that's the safe way to play it. We've been seeing a lot of safe Dota from the Asian teams. Not so much from Navi, but I think the easiest way to take this is to get those next items and wait for Roche number 2. And if they want to, they can. For the time being, it seems that'll be the choice.
Yeah, Alchemist desperately trying to farm his BKB. I feel like his AC hasn't really made much of an impact. I think he really needs the BKB just so he can man up on the Storm Spirit, on the Nyx Assassin before they can pop any defensive cooldowns. Although Kuroki will probably Demonic Purge him during it, they really need to kill these supports as soon as possible. Navi, on the other hand, they can just zip in on Storm Spirit with a Life Stealer, or Life Stealer can just pretty much just go on them himself, and there'll be 1 or 2 heroes down before they can even fight.
Havos will take an uncontested tower in the top lane. Aegis to be reclaimed in 4 seconds. Kuroki with the Ghost Scepter up, rotating confidently towards the enemy base, and probably going to be placing some sentries and observers in the lanes. They could maybe spring a trap on this Alchemist. Rattlesnake now confined and constricted to that very base. Normally, the Rattlesnake is the one that's going for the kills, but
there's a smoked Dendi with a Life Stealer inside of him, and he's hasted.
The Predator has become the prey. Dendi on the hunt, and Rattlesnake unable to do a thing about it. If he BKBs and jumps in, there is 0 ways for Rattlesnake to disengage from that, aside from just running.
And Abyssal. Oh, wait, they don't have Abyssal. They need one, though. They desperately need one. Again, they don't have enough items to deal with a Life Stealer. At this point in the game, Havos has finally overtaken Alchemist as the top leader in the net worth. 20,100 to the Alchemist, 18,600.
Dendi doing a bit of dewarding here. He'll rotate back into the bottom lane. Has an ultimate orb up. Will be going for a Scythe of Ice, but there's really no hurry for it. And Navi just continue to farm. They'll wait for Roche number 2. They'll keep the lanes pushed in. Rattlesnake, if they leave this base, it will be incredibly obvious. With Prophet constantly spamming his ult, well, currently it's on cooldown, but he's definitely been using it a lot as the lanes are all pushed in. It'll be the most obvious smoke gank in the world. So you can't really smoke unless you just expect Navi to be idiots. And if you're not smoking, they're farming your jungle and all 3 lanes, as well as the Ancients on both sides. Either way, they come out ahead. It feels like Rattlesnake is completely checkmated unless Navi just
they're cornered. They don't have any wards out right now. I don't even think there's a gem up on the side of Navi, but they have no vision out right now, and it just must be very, very scary for them. I mean, potentially Navi could even smoke through the middle. They have a sentry ward here, but it's going to expire in just a matter of seconds.
And they could even just jump from outside the base as well. The sentry ward doesn't help you when it's nighttime and you have a Storm Spirit as well as a Prophet with a Scythe of Ice. But Funnick Shadowblading top lane. They might even make a jump. Havos will rumble down, cruising for a bruising, and I think he may make his move here soon. At the creep wave, Roshan to respawn in 2 minutes. It is a riskier time for Navi to really force a fight. If they lost one, potentially they'd be forced to buy back or even give up a Roche. But speaking of buybacks, we'll check them now. Buyback on Funnick. That's the key hero for Navi, but nobody else having one currently. We'll see how safe they want to play it. It is, of course, your playoff matches. The group stages, they went 1-7. This Navi team really struggled to make things happen, but now off to a quick start here. They took game 1 in a 10-minute GG one-sided showdown. Can they take game 2? It is looking pretty promising.
And Dendi almost has a sheet completed, just needs one more component, but I mean, they're free to farm wherever they want right now, and their lineup does scale pretty well into the late game. They have Storm Spirit that can carry late, they have Lifestealer who's already super stacked, they have Nature's Prophet who still has a couple slots to go. There is really not too much pressure on them. Alchemist is going to be 6-slotted pretty soon. He already has 5 slots including his Power Chest. He has finally completed his BKB, and if they play the farm war, they're almost certainly going to lose. So it seems like right now they're delaying the inevitable. I think they need to try and take some risks right now, whether it means smoke ganking and just 5-manning one of their heroes. They need to try and repel Navi away from their base if they want to win this game.
And Navi, they just want to keep all the lanes pushed in. It's a very simple mindset for them. Just park Kavos bottom, push the lane until right before Roshan respawns, and then hoof it to the pit. And before Rattlesnake can even get to that pit, you should be able to kill off the Roche. But they'll infest Dendi potentially here. It looks like Kavos going to farm some creeps. Might even be looking for a kill. And Rattlesnake still not leaving the base. Unable to even make a move. This is sad to watch. It's so one-sided at this point. And Navi are playing some great asphyxiation Dota.
Indeed they are. Roshan just about to spawn in a couple of seconds, and I feel that Rattlesnake just really doesn't have anything versus BKB, like you said earlier, LD. If Storm just jumps in with his BKB on and a Raged Lifestealer, really, what can they do? They have one Ghost Scepter and one Force Staff. Other than that, I mean, it looks like they're going to be in a lot of trouble once those Lifestealer bombs keep coming in.
Navi just continuing to hang out. At some point they could go Roche.
Oh,
it looks like
they're
they'll
starting
finally
now.
go for it. Havos, 2k gold up for him. Will sell the Midas, and he's going to have one more item before this
They
fight.
totally see this coming, though. They have this ward. They have complete vision of Rattlesnake. They are fully aware of what they are doing.
They would know anyway. Middle lane's pushing in. Top lane's at the river. And what else would Rattlesnake be doing? Aegis already collected by the Lifestealer.
Funnick not as vigilant with his Treants as opposed to the other Eastern teams, but I feel like they aren't really scared at all anyways. If they decide to take a fight, they are probably going to get rolled.
Oh, they've gone in bottom lane. Puppey has found Lamb on the backside, picks him off with a Vendetta Strike. Nice play by him. Funnick was pretty vigilant with them in the laning stage, but I do agree, his scouting, it hasn't quite been what we saw out of Yao. Or I believe Ohio was very good with it as well for RNG Sports.
But again, they aren't really scared at this point. Even if Rattlesnake decides to come, they could just pretty much pop their BKBs and just destroy them in a 5-on-5 engagement.
They have an Alchemist who rushed a Battle Fury. He went Max Greevil's Greed as early as possible. And yet Navi lead by 20k gold, 25k experience. That is a true mark of crushing a team, and we might see this game ending soon. Havos pressuring the bottom lane, 4.2k gold. He's got 2 lives, and he's also got Boots of Travel buyback if necessary. I feel he might not even use 1, but he'll have 3 lives, getting closer to cat status with every passing moment.
This is one thing that Navi has been doing a much better job of other Eastern teams, is just out-farming the Alchemist. A lot of times we see teams just try and push too early, and because of that, they really hinder their farm. Navi played, I think, the appropriate amount of greediness with 2 Midases, and they still found a lot of kills in the meantime. They farmed up core items on everyone early, except maybe for Dendi, and they were doing a good job of taking control of the opponent's jungle.
Kurogi doing a bit of dewarding here, places an Observer Ward on the high ground. Rattlesnake want to clear it out quickly. Kurogi's trying to contest that. We could see a jump here any moment now. For the time being, Funnick is in the jungle.
They can't even deward this.
They've actually got an Infest Bomb. Rubik's inside of Havos. They're going to bring Havos down once, but he does have Aegis. He's coming back after these messages, and I think this could be trouble if they stick around. They get rid of the Aegis and they get out. That was one of the cutest combos you will ever see. Infested Rubik into the Alchemist. Alchemist drops the stun. Rubik lives afterwards. Ice Path deployed, but now they've got to kill Havos 2 more times. He still brings down the tower, and Rage is really showing it's worth its weight in gold, not only as a laning or killing spell, but also as a sieging spell. You pop Rage, you hit the racks for 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and you run away, and Rattlesnake can do nothing to punish that.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. I still don't fully understand why Lifestealer has drawn up. I mean, he's 7-0-7 right now, found absurd amounts of farm, contribute to so many kills, and he is one of the better counters to Alchemist, I feel.
Look for Dendy to make a big leap. It's one small leap for Dendy and one giant leap for Navi. Perhaps Kabu's been caught. Icy to fall. Everybody drops in a hailstorm of damage. Lamb next in line, and this is definitely going to be GG. Kabu, Lamb, they'll all bite the dust. Rattlesnake have been beaten and absolutely crushed here in game number 2. 26-15. That'll be our final score as the GGs come out. What a one-sided smackdown this series was.
Yeah, it was a lot closer in the second game, though. You had to give it to them. Rattlesnake did find a lot of kills that I didn't expect them to, and although Lich fell quite far behind, I mean, they were even on kills at one point. Although the golden XP graphs were slightly in favor of Navi, I felt like they held their own and at least made a rather decent showing after the first game.
I like the point you made, though, that this is how you deal with an Alchemist, is you try and slow him down early, which they did with the Prophet Trance as much as possible, and you get a bit greedier on your own, and you build a lineup that can just punish the supports, because when you run this ultra farm-oriented Alchemist with these defensive supports, that's the weak link in the team, is killing the Rubik, killing the Lich, killing the Twin-Headed Dragon. They did that repeatedly, and Alchemist needs those supports to be active on the map, setting up ganks, stacking camps, creating space for him to farm freely. He was denied that, and so the double Midas lineup of Navi actually ended up out-farming him.
Yeah, they had to be constantly scared of almost everything. Of Nyx assassin ganks, of a zipping Storm Spirit with a Lifestealer inside, just Lifestealer himself, Funnick with his Nature's Prophet and a Shadow Blade. They just really couldn't do anything out on their own. And if that happens, if you're forced to stick around as 5 and you can't actually push down towers, you're going to get out-farmed, and that is exactly what Navi did. And Rattlesnake just starved.
Yeah, they really did. The Rattlesnake unable to find any food in this game. Well, they're not knocked out of the tournament, though. They dropped down to the losers bracket, but that game 1, I have to go back to the draft and just say that was such an aberration. Rattlesnake drafts unconventional, but I've never seen them draft themselves into a corner just like that. That was a very odd draft. And I think maybe they were a little bit rattled by that.
So Silencer,
almost as good as your ice joke.
Yeah. Well, they're still Crystal Maiden too. It could have worked that way too. Regardless, their draft was really weak. I did not like the Silencer, at least in the position that they put him. It was like off lane with aggressive. It was just very, very strange. And 2 levels in Glaze of Wisdom. Please don't ever do that again. Not early, at least.
If they're listening. I don't think they're listening, though.
Oh.
Well, that's going to wrap up game number 2. It's going to conclude our 3rd series of the evening, but we do have one more, MUFC versus Tong Fu. Before we actually cast that one, we'll throw it over to Luminous, and our man Bruno joined us in LA for this broadcast. Bruno, Lumi, what do you guys think?
Well, what do you think, Lumi? You know, when you have Lifestealer that goes 10-0-10, yes, there really isn't a game. I thought this hero got nerfed.
So there's no point in discussing the game.
Really, there
Okay, I will discuss it for you just because there's a little thing that I want to say. Actually, 2 things that I want to say. First of all, I'm losing my voice for some reason. When you have Lich, right? They went Lich off lane against a tri-lane. There's a reason why Lich stopped being played for quite a while, which is actually there's 2 reasons. One was perfectly pointed out by Merlini, which is when you allow the supports to get the pull, there's pretty much no point in denying the XP to bring the lane into your favor, because the supports will deny you more XP by just pulling the lane to your favor. Yeah, you're killing a creep that's not going to go into the carries farm, but on the other hand,
they're killing 4.
Yeah, they're killing 4, and it's not a race of who gets more farm, but it's rather a race of where the creep equilibrium is. And the whole idea of Lich is getting the close to your tower, which doesn't work. And second thing is, in other more aggressive lineups, which Navi didn't particularly do, if you're facing against a tri-lane and you're doing that, there's another option that they can do. Is just not pull, just go into your tower, dive you, kill you, and there's no much the Lich can do. So in that sense, the Lich versus a tri-lane proves once again to be very ineffective. But on the other hand, I think this is kind of one of the things that you see when you actually see Navi going to China, or any team going to a place with opponents they do not see very often, is I look at Navi's lineup, and the same as last game, they got everything they wanted. They get Puppy on the Nyx Assassin, one of his best heroes. They get Phobos on the Lifestealer, a hero that, I mean, Phobos can play lots of heroes, but Lifestealer is one of the carries that has been traditionally picked in the last 3-4 months. So he clearly has lots of experience in that. Then the Storm Spirit as well, with the Lifestealer and with the Nyx Assassin, make for a strong combo. The other two are just kind of like, meh, whatever. Like Kuroki normally plays the Rubik more than the Shadow Demon. But if you give 3 so core heroes to Navi and something like that, no matter how crazy your lineup is, no matter how creative you can go, I think that they had some good ideas with the things that they were going. The Alchemist got something at the beginning and was doing alchemist-y kind of things, but Navi will eventually beat you just out of comfort for the lineup. So having said that, Navi advances. Rattlesnake goes into the loser bracket now. Have a tough time just trying to keep themselves in the tournament. They have lots themselves to prove. Navi, fortunately, after a 1-7 group stage, are now winning quite convincingly. I would understand that some people would say the Rattlesnake probably the weakest Chinese team in the tournament. I'm not. I mean, yeah.
I'll say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can agree on that.
I'm a big Rattlesnake fan.
Yeah.
And
they're still the weakest.
you know, I actually remembered how well they did in day one. I was still saying that they could have gone 4-0, but that's not what happened. And Rattlesnake is one of those teams that when they show up, they do well. And I'm not sure if they're showing up. So
yeah. Well, they still have one more chance.
yeah,
That's the important.
or a
thing.
couple more chances, depending how well
Yeah,
they play.
in terms of games, they have to play one more team at least,
Right.
and they have to win against that team. Do we know, guys, what the losers bracket looks like? If is Rattlesnake playing against the loser of next match or anything like that? How?
I believe the way that it works is the teams generally won't play against. They'll try to avoid matching teams up from the same group. I believe they want to. So if you're a Group A team and you get knocked down, generally you won't play another Group A team as much as possible.
As much as possible.
So
it's not
the matchups aren't set. Basically, it depends on who gets knocked down.
Exactly. So it's not decided now. So we don't know who Rattlesnake has to play against.
If they're playing against Orange, they're screwed.
They're pretty screwed.
That's all I'm saying. Because Orange is a pretty good team.
They're pretty decent.
Yeah.
But we can at least take a look at the upper bracket. Here.
Right. And we see Zenith versus LGD China, which is something I don't think we talked much about before.
They're screwed against NF too.
Yeah. I think that Zenith has proven that they can play crazy stuff. And
Oh wait, Zenith won.
yeah, Zenith
So-
won. So he's playing against LGD China. But I actually favor Zenith in this matchup, even though I think that LGD China is overall the stronger team. Their reliance on playing very safe, very drawn out kind of games goes completely against Zenith aggression from the get-go, crazy.
You're talking about two different things. Are you talking about Rattlesnake's next opponent, or are you
No. We can't talk about Rattlesnake next opponent because we don't know.
We could guess.
We could guess.
Isn't Bruno the one who's jet lagged? What
No,
is your excuse,
you're like
Lumi?
talking about two different things without a single transition.
I can follow multiple threads of thought at the same time.
He's got
Get on my
multi-cores.
level.
Your level's too high for me right now. This is
I
pretty
say
next
I'm
level.
high.
He's got hyper
Pretty
threading.
next
Lumi, get
level.
with the times.
all right. So
So yeah. Okay. I'll go to your level back again.
okay, I'll go back to
Yeah, I'll go back to your
level.
level. They can play against Orange, or they can play against the loser of
Well,
next
it's LGD in. It's in their
LGD
group.
International, which
But that was in their group, so it's most likely
so
Orange for
probably
now.
not. And then the next game is
Tongfu
guys.
versus MUFC. It says on the screen.
now it says in this. Oh yeah, it says down there.
Get on the
next
level.
match. Yeah,
Get on the American level.
it's just your overlay confuses me.
Yeah.
So MUFC
It's already
Tongfu. I would like to say that I favor Tongfu for this matchup, just for the sake of discussion. I'm not saying that Tongfu is going to win, but if they're
What?
I'm not saying Tongfu is going to win against MUFC, but I'm saying I favor Tongfu for that matchup.
It makes it sound like that everybody's favoring MUFC. Yeah.
I'm just saying, you feel free to favor MUFC or Tongfu.
No, Tongfu is definitely the better team.
Tongfu is a better team.
Yeah,
They're
for
definitely
sure.
going to win.
For
Guys,
sure.
Yeah, that is going to be a 2-0.
That's gonna be-
unless MUFC
yeah.
pulls something.
Did you just go Super
miraculous out of that?
Yeah, Super Saiyan LD in the house.
Are you jealous?
It's kind of Vegeta kind of thing.
Yeah.
I feel
Need
like-
more hair to go Super Saiyan.
Yeah. I'm like half Saiyan. I'm like semi Saiyan. Is that a thing?
You get in there.
That's
No,
fine.
that's not a thing.
Semi
Hey,
Saiyan.
Merlini's jealous. He can't do this.
Got my hair
Your hair's already up. People are used to it.
Yep.
This is special.
But yeah, they will have a tough time no matter against whom. And we'll see what happens with the next matchup.
I know
But
what's going to happen.
What's gonna happen? Merlini?
2-0 Tongfu.
How long? 10-minute
long?
matchups?
Not
How many
10
rares
minutes.
are you wagering on that?
The maximum. Maximum.
maximum,
possible.
the
The
four
maximum.
rares.
the more rares, the better. But
Guys, if you want to get some rares, go bet on MUFC right now.
I actually haven't seen MUFC play, though. I was absent for the Group A matches, so why don't we ask someone who has actually seen them play? Super Saiyan LD over here.
They really rely on big 5-man lineups, but we can preview the match more after the break. We're going to
okay.
take a quick break. We're going to try and fix Bruno's hair. When we come back, we'll be live with MUFC versus Tongfu, our final best of 3 of the upper bracket for the Alienware Cup, round 1. Stay tuned.
But I like